For the past 7 years, I've been tracking grocery supply chains and watching what quietly disappears during shortages. While everyone panics over bread and milk, I watch completely different items vanish with zero media coverage. Number 9 is sitting at your regional grocery chain right now for under $4, and by April, it'll be gone until at least summer. Most people have no idea this is even happening. Here's what nobody talks about. When major grocery chains discontinue items, they don't announce it. They just stop ordering. The last shipments roll through in March. Shelves empty out by mid-April, and suddenly that thing you've bought for years just isn't there anymore. I learned this the hard way in 2020 when my go-to canned item disappeared for 11 months. 11 months. By the time it came back, the price had jumped 40%. The problem is that when everyone reads the same grocery blogs and follows the same shopping advice, those are exactly the items that either get hoarded or discontinued first. High demand, low margin, supply chain headaches, stores just quietly drop them. What I'm about to share are 12 specific items that multiple regional and national chains are pulling after their final March shipments. Some of these I confirmed through a guy who's been in grocery distribution for 23 years. Others I've tracked by watching ordering patterns at 4 different chains in my area. Every single one of these is something you'll want to grab now, because come April they're gone. And listen, if you find this video helpful in the first 2 minutes, just tap that subscribe button real quick. I put out videos like this every week that can save you hundreds on groceries and keep you ahead of what's actually happening in stores, not what the news tells you is happening. Let's start with number 1. Canned coconut cream, the full-fat kind in the small cans, not coconut milk. Coconut cream. This one surprised me because it seems niche, but 3 major chains are discontinuing it after March shipments. Here's why this matters. Coconut cream is one of the few shelf-stable fat sources that doesn't need refrigeration, doesn't go rancid quickly once opened if you use it, and works in both sweet and savory applications. A single can has about 50 grams of fat. Your body doesn't just want fat during stressful times. It needs it. Your brain is 60% fat. Decision-making suffers when you're running on nothing but canned vegetables and rice. Last winter, I watched my neighbor try to live off her emergency stash for a week during a power outage. Day 3, she was exhausted, foggy, making bad calls about what to do next. She had plenty of calories from pasta and beans, but almost zero fat. Meanwhile, I was running a small camping stove making curries with coconut cream. Felt completely normal. The fat makes everything else you eat more satisfying, and your brain actually works. Here's the practical part. You can add 2 tablespoons to rice while it's cooking for a richer taste and serious calorie boost. Or mix it into any soup or stew to make it actually filling. A can costs about $2.50 at most chains right now. Compare that to buying nuts or nut butters, which go rancid fast and cost triple per ounce of fat. The reason this survives shortages normally is because most people grab coconut milk, not cream. But now that chains are discontinuing it, even that advantage disappears. When it's gone, it's gone. Stock up now while it's still on shelves. Look, grocery prices are climbing faster than most of us can adjust our budgets. I've done the math for you and put together a free resource guide that lists the exact 15 shelf-stable items you need to keep your family fed for 2 weeks during any disruption. It costs less than a single grocery delivery fee and takes the guesswork out of what to actually buy versus what prepper blogs tell you to waste money on. You can grab it free at the link in the description so you can stop second-guessing every shopping trip and start building a pantry that actually makes sense. Number 2 is going to sound boring, But hear me out. Canned mackerel. Not sardines. Mackerel. 4 chains are dropping this after March, and here's the thing that blows my mind. Mackerel has more omega-3s per ounce than salmon, costs about a third of the price, and has a longer shelf life because it's oilier. A single can has around 18 grams of protein and costs about $1.75. Meanwhile, people are spending $6 on freeze-dried chicken packets that taste like salty cardboard and have half the protein. Here's what I do. I keep 12 cans in my pantry rotation at all times. Last year, during a tight budget month, I ate mackerel mixed with rice and hot sauce 3 times a week. Didn't get sick of it because the fat content makes it satisfying in a way that tuna just isn't. Tuna is dry and sad. Mackerel is rich and filling. Most people avoid it because they think it's too fishy, which means it sits on shelves fully stocked while sardines and salmon get cleared out. But after March, that advantage is gone when chains stop carrying it altogether. The real insider trick is this. Buy the cans packed in olive oil, not water. The oil adds another 100 calories per can, and you can use it to cook with. Pour it into a pan, fry some onions, add rice. You've just added serious nutrition and flavor with zero waste. This is the kind of thing that prepper influencers miss because they're too busy promoting sponsored freeze-dried meals. Number 3. Nutritional yeast in the large containers. Before you roll your eyes thinking this is vegan hippie food, stay with me. Several chains are discontinuing the big containers and only keeping the tiny, overpriced shakers. Nutritional yeast is basically concentrated B vitamins in a shelf-stable form that lasts for years. 1 tablespoon gives you more B vitamins than most people get in 2 days of normal eating. During shortages or high-stress situations, B vitamin deficiency hits fast. You get tired, irritable, your immune system tanks. I learned this during a power outage that lasted 9 days. I had plenty of food, but everything was bland, and I was mentally wiped by day 4. Started adding nutritional yeast to everything I cooked on my camp stove. 2 days later, I felt completely normal again. It wasn't placebo. B vitamins are water-soluble, which means your body uses them fast and needs them constantly. A 500-gram container costs about $9 and lasts 6 months, even if you use it daily. Compare that to buying B-complex supplements, which cost twice as much and have half the shelf life. Here's the dead simple way to use it. Add 2 tablespoons to any rice, pasta, or soup while cooking. It dissolves completely and adds a savory, almost cheesy flavor. You're not trying to replace cheese. You're adding a nutrient density that shelf-stable foods usually lack. The reason chains are dropping it is because it's bulky, low margin, and most shoppers walk right past it. That's exactly why you want it now, before it disappears. Number 4 is one I hesitated to include because it sounds so weird, but it's absolute gold. Miso paste in the shelf-stable containers, not the refrigerated tubs. This is getting discontinued at multiple chains after March shipments, and it's a massive loss that almost nobody will notice. Miso paste is fermented soybeans. It contains living probiotics that support your gut, which is where 70% of your immune system lives. A single tablespoon dissolved in hot water gives you a nutrient-rich broth that costs about 15 cents. Compare that to bouillon cubes that are basically salt and artificial flavoring with zero nutritional value. Last winter, I kept a container of miso in my pantry and used it almost every day. 1 tablespoon in hot water before bed helped me sleep better, and I didn't get sick once all season, while everyone around me was catching everything. The probiotics in miso are incredibly resilient. Even in the shelf-stable form, they last for over a year. Here's what most people miss. Miso adds what food scientists call umami, which is the fifth taste that makes food satisfying on a deep level. When you're eating basic pantry staples for days on end, umami is what keeps you from feeling deprived and making bad decisions like panic buying junk food. A container costs about $6 and contains around 30 servings. You can add it to soups, stews, or just mix it into rice while cooking. It dissolves completely and transforms boring food into something your body actually craves. The reason it's being discontinued is shelf space and low turnover. Most Americans have never even tried miso. By April, it'll be gone from most stores, and you'll have to order it online for triple the price. Number 5. Canned butter. Yes, this exists, and yes, it's being pulled from chains after March. Canned butter is real butter that's been canned and heat processed to stay shelf-stable for years without refrigeration. A single can contains 12 ounces of butter and costs about $8. Sounds expensive until you realize that butter is one of the first things to disappear during any shortage and one of the most valuable comfort foods when everything else is stressful. I opened a can that was 4 years old last month. Tasted perfect. Rich, creamy, exactly like fresh butter. The process doesn't change the flavor or nutrition. Here's why this matters. Fat is not just about calories, it's about morale. When you're eating rice and beans for the 5th day in a row, adding real butter makes it feel like an actual meal instead of punishment. Food monotony causes decision fatigue. Boring food makes you stupid when you need to be sharp. Most preppers have never heard of canned butter, which is exactly why it usually stays in stock. But now that chains are discontinuing it, even that advantage disappears. If you see it on shelves, grab 2 or 3 cans. Use one. Store the others. Rotate them every few years by using the oldest and replacing it. This is the kind of item that separates people who actually live through disruptions comfortably from people who white-knuckle it eating flavorless mush. Number 6 is something I personally use every single week: uncanned bamboo shoots. Multiple regional chains are dropping this after March, and it's flying completely under the radar. Bamboo shoots are low-calorie, high-fiber, shelf-stable vegetables that actually taste good and have texture. Most canned vegetables turn to mush. Bamboo shoots stay crunchy. A single can costs about $1.20 and adds bulk and satisfaction to any stir-fry, soup, or rice dish without adding heaviness. Here's the insight that changed how I think about pantry food. Texture matters as much as taste when you're eating the same staples repeatedly. Your brain craves variety and texture to stay engaged with food. Bamboo shoots give you that crunch that keeps meals interesting. Last year, during a budget crunch, I made fried rice 3 times a week using rice, eggs, and canned bamboo shoots. Never got bored because the texture kept it feeling different every time. The reason chains are discontinuing it is because it's niche, and most shoppers have no idea what to do with it. That's your advantage. A 12-pack costs about $14 online right now, but after March, you'll pay double, or it just won't be available at regular stores. If you've never tried it, grab 1 can and add it to fried rice or ramen. You'll immediately understand why this is a pantry staple that nobody talks about. Number 7. This one is sitting on shelves right now, and most people walk right past it. Canned lentils, not dried lentils. Canned. Several chains are pulling canned lentils after March because they're low margin and people assume dried is better. Here's what they're missing. Canned lentils are already cooked, which means zero fuel or time needed to prepare them. During a power outage or fuel shortage, that difference is massive. You can eat them straight from the can if needed, or heat them in 2 minutes. A single can has about 12 grams of protein and 9 grams of fiber for about $1.30. Compare that to canned beans, which have half the protein and cost the same. I keep a case of 24 cans in my basement. Last winter, I made lentil curry in under 10 minutes using 1 can of lentils, 1 can of coconut cream, and curry powder. It fed 2 people, cost about $4 total, and was legitimately delicious. The canned ones have a softer texture than dried, which some people don't like. But that softness means they blend into soups and stews perfectly without any extra cooking. Here's why this matters for shortages. Dried lentils require clean water and fuel to cook. Canned lentils require nothing. You can eat them cold if you have to. Most preppers are so focused on dried bulk goods that they completely overlook the tactical advantage of ready-to-eat canned items. After March, when chains stop stocking these, that advantage disappears for anyone who didn't stock up. Number 8 is one of those things that sounds too simple to matter, but it's critical. Canned tomato paste in the small 6-ounce cans. Multiple chains are switching to only carrying the tiny 2-ounce cans or the big 28-ounce cans and dropping the 6-ounce size after March. This matters more than you think. The 6-ounce can is the perfect size to add deep flavor to a meal for 2 or 3 people without waste. The tiny cans are overpriced per ounce, and the big cans go bad before you can use them unless you're cooking for a crowd. Tomato paste is concentrated umami. 1 small can transforms plain rice or pasta into something that feels like a real meal. It's pure tomato with no water, which means it's nutrient-dense and adds serious flavor depth for almost no money. A 6-ounce can cost about 80 cents. I go through probably 2 cans a week making quick sauces, soups, and stews. Last month, I made a tomato-based lentil stew using 1 can of tomato paste, 1 can of lentils, and spices. Cost me under $3 and fed me for 2 days. The reason chains are discontinuing the 6-ounce size is packaging and shelf space efficiency. They make more money per square inch with other sizes. For you, that means the perfect middle size disappears, and you're stuck paying more per ounce for tiny cans, or dealing with waste from big cans. Stock up now while the 6-ounce cans are still available. Number 9. I mentioned this one in the beginning, and here it is. Canned pumpkin puree. Not pumpkin pie filling, pure pumpkin puree. At least 3 regional chains are discontinuing this after March, outside of the fall holiday season. Most stores only stock it heavily from September to December, then carry minimal inventory the rest of the year. After these final March shipments, it'll be nearly impossible to find until next fall. Here's why this is a bigger deal than it sounds. Pumpkin puree is nearly pure fiber and beta-carotene. A single cup has 7 grams of fiber, which is more than most people get in an entire day. So fiber keeps your digestive system working, which is critical during high-stress situations when your body wants to shut down. It also keeps you full. A half cup of pumpkin puree added to oatmeal or soup adds almost 0 calories, but makes you feel satisfied for hours. I keep 12 cans in my pantry year-round. Last spring, I couldn't find it anywhere for 3 months. Stores just didn't stock it outside of fall. I was adding it to curries, soups, even mixing it into rice for extra nutrition and thickness. A can costs about $1.50 during non-holiday months. After March, when it's discontinued until fall, you'll either pay triple online or just go without. The reason most people don't think about this is because they only associate pumpkin with pie. That's exactly why it's always available when smarter shoppers know it's one of the best shelf-stable vegetable sources you can buy. Number 10 is something I only discovered 2 years ago, and now I refuse to run out. Canned artichoke hearts. Multiple chains are dropping this after March, and it's a genuine loss. Artichoke hearts are packed with fiber, potassium, and antioxidants. A single can has around 7 grams of fiber and costs about $2.50. Here's what makes them different from other canned vegetables. They have a meaty texture that makes them feel substantial. You can add them to pasta, rice, or salads, and they actually contribute to the meal instead of just being filler. Last summer, I made a pasta dish using 1 can of artichoke hearts, olive oil, and garlic. It cost about $5 and tasted like something from a restaurant. The texture of artichokes holds up in a way that canned green beans or carrots just don't. Most people avoid them because they seem fancy or they don't know how to use them. That's your advantage. They sit fully stocked, while everything else gets cleared out during shortages. Here's the simple use case. Drain the can, chop them up, and add them to literally anything savory. They absorb flavors and add bulk without making food heavy. The reason chains are discontinuing them is low turnover and niche appeal. After March, you'll have to go to specialty stores and pay double. If you see them now, grab a few cans and just try them. You'll immediately understand why this belongs in a smart pantry. Number 11. Canned chickpeas in the larger 28-ounce cans. This is different from the standard 15-ounce cans. Several chains are dropping the larger size after March and only keeping the smaller cans. This matters because of cost per ounce. The large cans cost about $1.60 and contain nearly double the chickpeas of the small cans, which cost $1.20 each. You're saving 40 cents per large can, which adds up fast if you eat them regularly. Chickpeas are one of the most versatile protein sources. A single large can has about 20 grams of protein and 12 grams of fiber. You can mash them into spreads, roast them for snacks, add them to soups, or blend them into sauces. I go through at least 2 large cans per week. Last winter, I made chickpea curry that cost about $3 and fed me for 2 full days. The larger cans mean fewer trips to the store and better value, but chains are dropping them because shelf space and stocking efficiency. Here's the play. If your local chain still has the 28-ounce cans, buy a case now. They last for years and you'll use them constantly if you're cooking real food instead of relying on processed garbage. Most people just grab whatever size is in front of them and never do the math. You're smarter than that. Number 12 is the one that actually made me want to make this video. Canned evaporated milk. Multiple major chains are discontinuing this after March shipments. Evaporated milk is concentrated milk with 60% of the water removed. It's shelf-stable for over a year and contains more protein and calcium per ounce than regular milk. A single can has about 17 grams of protein and costs about $1.40. Here's why this is critical. Dairy is one of the first things to disappear during shortages because it requires refrigeration. Evaporated milk gives you all the nutrition and cooking functionality of milk without needing a fridge. You can reconstitute it with water to use as regular milk, or use it straight for richer sauces, soups, and coffee. Last year during a power outage, I used evaporated milk in my coffee every morning, and it tasted better than the regular milk I usually use. The reason chains are dropping it is because plant-based milk alternatives are taking shelf space and evaporated milk is seen as old-fashioned. Most younger shoppers have never even used it. That's exactly why it's been quietly available during every shortage for the past 5 years, while oat milk and almond milk get cleared out in hours. But after March, that advantage is gone. When it's discontinued, you'll have to pay premium prices online or just go without. Stock up now while it's still on shelves at regular prices. A case of 12 cans costs about $17 and gives you reliable dairy nutrition for months without refrigeration. This is the kind of item that separates people who actually prepare intelligently from people who panic buy trending items that disappear immediately. While everyone else is fighting over the same viral grocery items they saw on social media, you now know 12 specific products that are quietly disappearing after March with almost zero coverage. These aren't trendy. They're not exciting. That's exactly why they've been reliable during past shortages, and exactly why losing them after March matters if you're paying attention. Drop a comment and tell me which of these you're stocking up on first. I'm genuinely curious if anyone else has noticed these disappearing from their local stores yet. Next week, I'm breaking down the 7 grocery items that everyone thinks are healthy pantry staples, but are actually a complete waste of money and shelf space. Some of these are going to make people angry, but the math doesn't lie. You definitely don't want to miss that one. Thanks for watching all the way through. I know this was dense information, and I threw a lot of specific items at you. But this is genuinely what separates people who get caught off guard from people who make smart decisions before disruption happens. The 12 items we covered today aren't about stockpiling for doomsday scenarios. They're about understanding supply chain reality and taking advantage of that knowledge before everyone else catches on. What most people miss is that by the time mainstream media starts talking about a shortage, it's already too late. The items are gone. The people who move ahead of the panic are the ones who watch what's actually happening in stores, notice patterns that nobody else talks about, and act quietly while prices are still normal. That's what you're doing right now by listening to this. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Don't just listen to this video and forget about it. Actually go to your local grocery stores this week. Walk the aisles and look for the items we talked about. Check if your chains are still stocking all 12 of them. Most likely you'll find at least 6 or 7 right now at completely normal prices. Buy some. Build your pantry quietly. Don't make a huge deal out of it. Just accumulate these items over the next few weeks while they're available. The people I know who handle disruptions best aren't the ones spending thousands on fancy freeze-dried meals or buying into every prepper trend that comes along. They're the people who simply noticed what works, what stays available, and what their family actually eats during stressful times. Then they quietly built a pantry around that reality. You're ahead of almost everyone just by knowing what's being discontinued. One more thing that matters. Don't just rely on online ordering for the items we talked about. Yes, you can order them when they disappear from stores, but you'll pay significantly more, and you might wait weeks for delivery. Physical stores have them now at normal prices. The effort you put in this month to hit 4 or 5 stores and grab some of these items is worth hundreds of dollars in savings when they vanish and you actually need them. I also want to acknowledge something. If you're watching this and money is tight right now, I get it. Not everyone can go out and buy multiple cases of things this week. That's okay. Even buying 2 or 3 cans of the items that resonated most with you makes a difference. Start somewhere. Start with 1 item if that's all you can do. The goal isn't to panic buy everything. It's to make small decisions now that pay dividends later. And if you found this video genuinely helpful, please take 30 seconds right now to subscribe. I put out content like this every single week that breaks down what's actually happening in supply chains, what grocery stores are quietly discontinuing, and what that means for your wallet and your family. You'll get notified when new videos drop, so you're not caught off guard by the next round of discontinuations that nobody's talking about yet. The comment section is always active too. If you've already noticed some of these items disappearing from your local stores, drop a comment. Tell me which chains in your area are pulling them. Tell me which items from this list you're most interested in. Other people watching are in different regions, and having access to that real-time information from actual viewers is worth more than anything I could tell you. We're building a real community of people who actually pay attention instead of just reacting to whatever the news cycle decides to cover that day. Also, check out the resource guide I mentioned earlier in the description. It's free and it contains the exact 15 items you actually need versus the stuff that prepper blogs convince you to waste money on. It'll save you from making expensive mistakes and help you build a pantry that makes actual sense for your situation. Whether you have kids, live alone, have dietary restrictions, or anything else, that guide walks you through the logic instead of just giving you a generic list that doesn't apply to your life. Before you go, Shakti's one last thought. Everything we talked about today is about being proactive instead of reactive. Every single person watching this will eventually face some kind of disruption. Doesn't matter if it's a weather event, a supply chain problem, a personal emergency, or something else entirely. The question is whether you'll be ready or scrambling. The difference between those two situations is usually made weeks or months before the disruption actually happens. That difference is exactly what you're building right now by taking this seriously. So go check your local stores, grab some of these items, build your pantry. Don't stress about it. Just be consistent and thoughtful, and subscribe so you're not flying blind when the next round of discontinuations happens. I'll be here breaking down exactly what's happening before everyone else figures it out. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next